25 modern inventions we really don't use anymore. Ever wondered what happened to the gadgets that once changed the world? From cassette players to early smartphones, these revolutionary inventions are now part of history. Let's dive into 25 iconic technologies that were once at the cutting edge, but have since been replaced. VHS. The Video Home System, or VHS, became a game changer for home entertainment when it was introduced in the 1970s. For the first time ever, people could record their favorite television shows, movies, or even their own videos at home. This level of control over what you watched and when was groundbreaking, and it quickly became a staple in living rooms across the world. VHS tapes could record up to 6 hours of video, which was revolutionary at the time. People could now record an entire movie or several episodes of a TV show on a single tape, something that was unheard of with earlier formats. Fast forwarding and rewinding became common features, allowing viewers to jump to specific scenes or re-watch parts of their favorite shows. It was a whole new world of convenience and flexibility in entertainment. The journey to VHS began with the Sony VCR in 1965, which used a reel-to-reel format to record. However, the first models could only record in black and white. Over time, the technology evolved, and by the late 1970s, color recording in the VHS format became the standard for home video systems. Though VHS has since been replaced by DVDs, Blu-ray discs, and digital streaming, it holds a nostalgic place in the hearts of those who remember it as the device that brought home video entertainment to life. CRT TV. Back in the day, CRT TVs, or cathode ray tube televisions, were the cornerstone of home entertainment. These bulky, boxy devices dominated living rooms around the world, especially in the 1960s, when nearly every American household had one. CRT technology was revolutionary at the time, using electron beams to light up phosphor screens and produce images. While they might seem ancient compared to today's sleek flat-screen TVs, CRTs were the standard for decades, and they provided a solid viewing experience for everything from daily shows to movies. However, as technology advanced, the limitations of CRTs became apparent. They were heavy, took up a lot of space, and had relatively low resolution compared to the high-definition and ultra-high-definition options available now. By the early 2000s, newer, thinner, and lighter technologies like LCD and plasma screens began to replace CRTs. Sony, once a major producer of CRT TVs, ceased production in Japan in 2004 and stopped making them everywhere else by 2008. Stereo 8. The 8-track tape, officially known as the Stereo 8, was a revolutionary way to listen to music in the 1970s. Before its arrival, people mainly relied on vinyl records or AM/FM radio for music. The 8-track offered a new level of convenience, allowing listeners to enjoy high-quality sound on the go. With its 8 tracks of audio, the 8-track could hold entire albums without the need to flip the tape or change sides, making it perfect for long drives or parties. However, by the late 70s, the cassette tape began to emerge as a more flexible alternative. Cassette tapes were smaller, more affordable, and had the major advantage of being able to rewind and skip songs with ease, something the 8-track couldn't do. This made the cassette more popular, and by the 1980s, the 8-track's reign was over. By the 1990s, the 8-track tape became a relic of the past, mostly collected by vintage enthusiasts or those with nostalgic memories. Dial-up modem. Before the days of cable internet and Wi-Fi, getting online in America meant relying on dial-up modems. These devices used your home's analog telephone line to connect to the internet. To get started, you'd pick up the phone, dial a number, and wait for the familiar series of beeps and static as the modem established a connection with another computer. The term modem comes from modulator-demodulator, describing how the device would send and receive digital data through the analog phone line. While it was a breakthrough at the time, dial-up had its major drawbacks. The connection was often painfully slow, with speeds far below what we consider normal today. On top of that, the connection was unstable, interruptions were common, and sometimes you'd be disconnected without warning. The real kicker was that, while your computer was online, the phone line was tied up, meaning you couldn't make regular phone calls at the same time. Dial-up served as the bridge between the early days of the internet and the high-speed broadband connections we use today. Though it feels outdated now, dial-up was a crucial part of the journey toward the fast and always-on connections that are now the standard. Wang calculator. In the early 1960s, the Wang calculator changed the game for electronic calculators. Before this, doing complex math, like calculating square roots or raising numbers to powers, was a hassle, often requiring bulky machines or manual calculations. The Wang calculator, however, made all that much easier. It was one of the first devices capable of performing these kinds of advanced mathematical functions with ease. These calculators were far more than just simple adding machines. They looked like miniature computers, with a sleek design that was both functional and innovative for the time. The Wang calculator introduced a new level of convenience, allowing users to perform tasks that were previously time-consuming or nearly impossible with handheld devices. As the years passed, the Wang calculator became a key tool in offices and schools, providing the foundation for the calculators and computers we use today. While these early models may seem basic now, they were a breakthrough in making complex calculations accessible to a wider audience. The Wang calculator helped pave the way for the more advanced technologies we rely on now in our daily lives. Walkman. Before the iPod and smartphones, the Walkman was the ultimate portable music player. It allowed you to take your favorite cassette tapes anywhere you went, giving you the freedom to listen to music on the go. Launched in the late 1970s, the Walkman became a cultural icon, with over 400 million units sold worldwide. It was a game-changer for music lovers, offering a personal soundtrack to life that had never been possible before. But it wasn't all as simple as it seems today. Rewinding and fast-forwarding tapes wasn't instantaneous. It took time, and if you wanted to skip to a specific song, you had to wait or manually rewind and forward the tape. For kids today, trying to figure out how to use a Walkman might seem like a challenge. The buttons were often a bit tricky to operate, and the cassette tapes were prone to getting tangled. Portable TV. Portable televisions were once a cool idea, offering the possibility of watching TV wherever you went. Though they never reached the widespread popularity of other portable devices like the Walkman, they were still a notable innovation in the 1960s and 1970s. These small, handheld TVs allowed people to tune into their favorite shows, but with one big limitation: the number of available channels. Back then, television broadcasts were much more limited than today's cable or streaming options, so the viewing experience on these devices was far from exciting. Sony was the first to mass-produce portable TVs, introducing the Sony Watchman. It was a compact device that could easily fit in your bag, giving you a screen to watch wherever you were, whether on the go or even lying in bed. However, with fewer channels to choose from and often a grainy picture, the appeal of portable TVs was limited. Despite the novelty, they couldn't compete with larger, more advanced televisions in terms of quality and functionality. Do you have any funny or memorable experiences with using one of these inventions? Pager. Before the age of cell phones, pagers or beepers were the go-to device for staying connected, especially in urgent situations. These little gadgets were most commonly used by professionals, like doctors, emergency responders, and business people, who needed to be reached quickly. When someone needed to get in touch, a message would be sent to the pager, usually in the form of a phone number to call, or, in later years, a short text message. One of the standout features of pagers was their reliability. Unlike early cell networks that could become overloaded or experience delays, the pager system was fast and efficient. There were rarely any delays in delivery, and since the paging system ran on a separate network, it wasn't affected by issues like dead zones where mobile signals couldn't reach. Discman. If you loved music on the go in the late 80s and 90s, chances are you had a Discman. Introduced by Sony in 1984, portable CD players quickly became the ultimate device for music lovers who wanted to take their tunes anywhere. In the mid-90s, the Discman really took off, becoming a must-have gadget for anyone who enjoyed having their music with them, whether it was for a long walk, a road trip, or just chilling at the park. Compared to the devices we use today, the Discman might seem a bit limited. For one, it could only play one CD at a time, so if you wanted to change your playlist, you had to swap out the discs. This meant carrying a bulky case of CDs with you if you wanted to keep your music variety intact. And if you were walking or jogging, you had to deal with the constant skipping caused by bumps and movement. But despite these limitations, the Discman offered a convenience that wasn't available before. Floppy disk. Before cloud storage, thumb drives, and the other portable memory devices we use today, the floppy disk was the go-to solution for saving and transferring data. In the 1980s and 1990s, floppy disks were a staple of personal computing, allowing people to store their files, share information, and even play simple games on their home computers. The floppy disk came in different sizes, but the most common was the 3.5-inch version, which in 1991 could hold up to 2.8 MB of data. This was enough for simple text documents, spreadsheets, and early computer programs. At the time, that amount of storage was quite impressive. But in today's world, 2.8 MB wouldn't even be enough to store a few high-resolution photos or a short video clip. As technology advanced, floppy disks quickly became obsolete. Their small storage capacity, along with the slow transfer speeds, couldn't keep up with the demands of modern computing. Today, the floppy disk is little more than a relic, but it played a crucial role in the evolution of portable storage. Gramophone. The gramophone, also known as the phonograph, was one of the most groundbreaking inventions of its time. Created by Thomas Edison in 1877, the gramophone was the first device capable of both recording and playing back sound. This marked the dawn of audio entertainment and revolutionized the way people experienced music. Edison's original model used tinfoil-coated cylinders to capture sound. These cylinders would spin on a turntable while a needle, or stylus, tracked the grooves, playing back the recorded sound. While the technology was primitive by today's standards, it was a massive leap forward, enabling people to hear recorded music in their homes for the very first time. By the mid-20th century, the gramophone had been largely replaced by the record player, which was smaller, more convenient, and used flat vinyl records instead of cylinders. These new devices offered better sound quality, and records became the standard format for music until the advent of cassette tapes and CDs. Typewriter. The typewriter was a revolutionary invention that changed the way people wrote and communicated, marking the shift from handwritten documents to machine-generated text. The first practical typewriter was developed in the second half of the 19th century, with the mass-produced versions hitting the market in 1874. Compared to writing by hand, the typewriter allowed for much faster and more efficient typing, which made it a game-changer for writers, office workers, and businesses alike. At its peak, the typewriter was a standard tool in every office, and its distinctive click-clack sound became iconic. It allowed for clean, uniform text that was easier to read than handwritten notes, and it sped up productivity in workplaces worldwide. Over the years, various models and innovations, like the QWERTY keyboard, improved the user experience, but the basic principle remained the same. Which of these outdated gadgets do you still miss the most, and why? Tape drive. Before cloud storage, external hard drives, and even USB flash drives, there was the tape drive, a data storage device that used magnetic tape to back up and store information. Back in its prime, tape drives were essential for businesses and individuals who needed to save large amounts of data. However, the process was slow, cumbersome, and very different from the instant access we're accustomed to today. Using a tape drive was a time-consuming task. You'd often have to leave your computer running overnight to complete a backup, and even then, the process took a while. The magnetic tape would be wound up in a reel, and to retrieve data, you couldn't just point and click. Instead, you had to fast forward or rewind the tape to the correct location. If you were lucky, it could take just a few minutes, but sometimes it felt like hours. Despite its drawbacks, the tape drive was a significant step in the evolution of data storage, paving the way for the fast, easy, and reliable devices we use today. IBM Simon. The IBM Simon, introduced in 1994, was a groundbreaking device that laid the foundation for the smartphones we use today. In fact, it was the world's very first touchscreen phone, and long before the term smartphone even existed. Developed by IBM in 1992, the Simon was ahead of its time, offering features that were unheard of for phones in the early 90s. Unlike the flip phones or bulky cell phones of the era, the Simon had a sleek design and a touchscreen interface, which allowed users to dial numbers, send emails, and even manage contacts, all without physical buttons. Imagine that! It also featured a calendar, a simple address book, and even games, making it one of the earliest examples of a device that could be considered smart. Boombox. The boombox was the ultimate symbol of portable music in the 1980s. If you watched music videos or movies from that era, you'd often see people walking down the street with a boombox slung over their shoulder, blasting their favorite tunes. It was more than just a way to listen to music. It was a statement of style, freedom, and the joy of sharing music with others. Despite its iconic status, the boombox had its challenges. It was big, bulky, and heavy, often requiring users to carry around a set of batteries that needed to be replaced frequently. The sound was loud and powerful, which made it perfect for outdoor gatherings or street parties, but it wasn't exactly convenient. The sheer size made it difficult to transport, and carrying it around for long periods could get tiring. DVD. The DVD, or digital versatile disc, was introduced in 1993 and quickly revolutionized the way we watched movies and stored data. DVDs offered significantly better picture and sound quality than VHS tapes, which made them an instant hit with consumers. The discs were compact, durable, and could hold far more data, up to 4.7 GB, allowing for clearer video and the ability to include extra features like behind-the-scenes footage, director's commentary, and multiple language tracks. By 2002, DVD players had even outsold VCRs, marking the beginning of the DVD's dominance in home entertainment. They became the go-to format for movie lovers, and DVD rental stores became a staple in communities across the globe. However, this convenience was short-lived. As the internet and streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video grew in popularity, DVD and Blu-ray players began to fade into the background. Streaming services offered on-demand access to movies and TV shows without the need for physical media, and with internet speeds increasing, streaming quickly became the preferred way to consume content. Cassette tape. The cassette tape, first introduced in 1963, revolutionized the way we listened to and recorded music. For the first time ever, people who weren't sound engineers could create their own music mixes, make personal recordings, or simply enjoy music on the go. Before cassettes, you had to rely on vinyl records or reel-to-reel tapes, which were bulkier and not as portable. The cassette, however, was compact, easy to use, and allowed for the personal freedom of taking music anywhere. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, cassette tapes became a cultural phenomenon. Car stereos, Walkmans, and boomboxes all used cassettes, making them the soundtrack of an entire generation. The ability to create mixtapes for friends or loved ones became an art form, and for a while, cassettes were the dominant format for home music. What do you think will be the next technology to become obsolete in the near future? PDAs. Before smartphones became the all-in-one devices we rely on today, there were PDAs, or personal digital assistants. These handheld devices were like tiny, pocket-sized computers that helped people manage their schedules, contacts, and tasks. PDAs were the precursor to modern smartphones, offering features like Wi-Fi connectivity, pen-based keyboards for writing notes or inputting data, and even voice recognition. Some models could even send faxes, which was pretty high-tech for the time. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, PDAs were considered cutting-edge tools for professionals, helping them stay organized and productive. They were much more than just phones. They were portable planners, data storage devices, and communication tools all rolled into one. However, as smartphones evolved in the 2010s, PDAs began to lose their appeal. Smartphones became smaller, lighter, and more powerful, incorporating all the features of PDAs and adding much more, such as high-quality cameras, access to app stores, and the ability to handle multiple tasks at once. As smartphones quickly took over, PDAs became obsolete, and their role was absorbed into the smartphone world. ARPANET. ARPANET, short for the Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, was the groundbreaking experimental computer network created in 1969. Many people consider ARPANET to be the precursor to the modern Internet. Developed and funded by the U.S. Department of Defense, the main goal of ARPANET was to connect computers at various research facilities that were funded by the Pentagon, allowing for the sharing of data and resources across vast distances. At the time, the idea of networking computers together to share information was revolutionary. ARPANET enabled researchers to send messages and share data in real time, laying the foundation for the online communication we take for granted today. It wasn't widely used by the public, but its design and structure introduced key concepts like packet switching, which allows data to be broken into small packets and sent across networks more efficiently. ARPANET continued to grow and evolve through the 1970s and early 1980s, but by 1982, it was officially decommissioned, replaced by more advanced networks. Betamax. Betamax, introduced by Sony in 1975, was one of the first video cassette formats, and it quickly became a competitor to VHS for dominance in the home recording market. The Betamax machine was heavier and more expensive than VHS players, but it offered superior video quality. It could record for up to an hour on a single tape, which was impressive for its time. Despite its advantages in quality, Betamax faced challenges in the consumer market, primarily because its tape capacity was shorter compared to VHS, which could record up to 2 hours, making VHS more appealing to consumers. In the 1980s, the battle between Betamax and VHS was intense. Consumers flocked to VHS, not just because of the longer recording time, but because VHS machines were more affordable, and the format had broader support from movie rental companies and manufacturers. Over time, Betamax lost out in what is often referred to as the videotape format war. Sony continued to produce Betamax machines and tapes for several decades, but by the 2000s, the format was virtually obsolete. In 2016, Sony announced it would stop producing Betamax tapes, signaling the end of the format's existence. Calculator watch. The calculator watch was a gadget that merged two essential devices, a watch and a calculator, and it became hugely popular in the 1980s. As technology rapidly advanced, people started to see watches not just as timepieces, but as multifunctional tools. The calculator watch, with its tiny keypad and small screen, allowed wearers to do basic calculations directly on their wrist, a convenience that was ahead of its time. The calculator watch gained iconic status, partly thanks to pop culture. For example, Marty McFly, the beloved character from Back to the Future, famously wore one in the film. It was a symbol of the future, showing just how embedded technology was becoming in everyday life. By the 1990s, however, as more advanced, compact devices like cell phones and personal digital assistants, PDAs, emerged, the calculator watch started to fade into obscurity, yet it remains a nostalgic item, remembered by those who were fascinated by its innovation during its heyday. LaserDisc player. The LaserDisc player, introduced in 1978, was one of the first attempts to bring high-quality home video entertainment into people's living rooms. It was initially marketed under the name DiscoVision and featured a 12-inch optical disc that stored analog audio and video. This was a major step forward from the VHS and Betamax tapes of the time, offering superior video quality and the potential for crisp, clear picture and sound. The technology struggled to compete against VHS, which was more affordable and offered the convenience of recording television shows, something Laserdiscs could not do. It wasn't until the introduction of DVDs in the 1990s that a more compact and user-friendly optical format emerged, quickly making Laserdiscs obsolete. Despite this, Laserdiscs have a nostalgic following among collectors and cinephiles who appreciate the format's high-quality visuals and sound, often viewing them as a precursor to the modern digital formats we use today. Reel-to-reel tape. Before digital recording took over the music and sound industries, reel-to-reel tape was the gold standard for high-quality audio. This analog format used a magnetic tape that was wound onto a reel, allowing sound professionals to record, mix, and master audio with remarkable clarity and depth. It was especially popular in recording studios, radio stations, and among audio engineers in the 1950s and 1960s, prized for its superior sound quality compared to other formats like vinyl or cassette tapes. In recent years, there's been a bit of a revival for reel-to-reel tape, driven by both the nostalgia for analog sound and the desire for high-fidelity audio. Some audiophiles and even music producers are rediscovering the unique warmth and depth of sound that reel-to-reel tapes provide. A German company has even released a new high-end reel-to-reel machine, priced at around $12,000, aimed at those looking to preserve or recreate classic analog audio. Transistor radio. In the 1970s, the transistor radio was the must-have gadget for anyone who wanted to stay connected to music and news on the go. Small, portable, and powered by batteries, these radios could pick up AM and FM signals, allowing people to enjoy their favorite radio stations anywhere, whether they were on the bus, at the beach, or just hanging out in the backyard. Before the days of smartphones and streaming, the transistor radio was a lifeline to entertainment, culture, and real-time information. For tech pioneers like Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, the transistor radio was a pivotal device that sparked his love for technology. He famously said, "My first transistor radio. I loved what it could do. It brought me music. It opened my world up." The transistor radio not only brought people closer to music and news, but it also opened doors to a new era of portable technology. Telegraph. The telegraph, invented in the early 19th century, revolutionized long-distance communication in ways that were previously unimaginable. Before the telegraph, Sending messages across vast distances took days or even weeks, relying on postal services or messenger systems. With the telegraph, however, messages could be transmitted nearly instantly over long distances, changing how people connected with each other. The device worked by sending electrical signals along wires, which represented Morse code, a system of dots and dashes that could be decoded into letters and numbers. This breakthrough made it possible to communicate across countries and even continents. The telegraph played a crucial role in shaping the modern world, especially in the realms of business, government, and emergency communication. 20 forgotten appliances from the past you won't believe exist. Let's turn back time and explore inventions that once transformed daily life, from iceboxes keeping food fresh, coal stoves heating homes, to hand-cranked food processors in the kitchen. These gadgets were once cutting-edge technology, now standing as quirky reminders of innovation. Let's dive into these vintage devices. Toaster ovens with rollers. Picture this. You pop a slice of bread into a toaster oven, and instead of sitting still, it glides smoothly through on a conveyor belt, emerging golden and crispy on the other side. That's the charm of toaster ovens with rollers, a quirky yet practical invention that found its way into mid-20th century kitchens. These machines worked like magic. Bread was placed on a conveyor belt that passed through heated elements, ensuring an even toast on both sides. It wasn't just a toaster, it was a mini assembly line for your breakfast. While undeniably fun to watch, roller toasters were eventually overshadowed by simpler, more compact pop-up toasters and versatile modern ovens. Though they've mostly disappeared from home kitchens, their innovative design is still alive and well in commercial settings, where conveyor toasters handle high volumes of toast with ease. Wood-fired water heaters. Before the convenience of electric and gas water heaters, wood-fired water heaters were the go-to solution for heating water. These heaters were simple, yet effective. Users would build and maintain a fire beneath a metal tank, heating the water for bathing, cooking, and cleaning. Wood-fired water heaters were commonly found in both rural and urban homes, especially where other forms of energy were not readily available. While the process was straightforward, it did require some effort and skill. Lighting and stoking the fire took time, and managing the heat and flames needed experience to ensure the water didn't get too hot or remain too cold. Plus, they often doubled as a source of warmth, providing a cozy spot to gather around during colder months. Despite their reliability, wood-fired water heaters came with their share of challenges. The need to continuously manage the fire made them less convenient than modern alternatives. By the mid-20th century, the rise of electric and gas water heaters, more efficient and easier to use, made wood-fired heaters a thing of the past. These advancements made hot water more accessible, and the era of fire-managed water heating slowly faded away. Electric carpet sweepers. Before vacuum cleaners became the household standard, electric carpet sweepers offered a revolutionary way to keep floors clean. These compact, lightweight devices featured rotating brushes powered by a motor, making it easier to pick up dirt and debris from carpets and floors. Electric carpet sweepers were incredibly easy to use. They were quieter and more affordable than the bulky, noisy vacuum cleaners of the time, making them a popular choice for everyday cleaning. For light cleaning, they did the job well, providing a quick and simple solution for maintaining tidy floors. However, as vacuum cleaners grew more powerful and versatile, electric carpet sweepers became less practical. The advent of more efficient and powerful vacuums gradually pushed these sweepers out of the picture, leaving them as a memory of a simpler time in household cleaning. Vacuum coffee makers. If you can't start your day without a good cup of coffee, Imagine brewing it with a contraption that looks like something straight out of a chemistry lab. That's exactly what vacuum coffee makers brought to the table. Popular in the early to mid-20th century, these stylish and scientific devices weren't just about making coffee. They turned brewing into a fascinating experience. Using vapor pressure to push water into an upper chamber and vacuum suction to pull it back down through the grounds, these machines crafted a rich, flavorful brew. Watching the process felt like a mix of science and art, and for many, it was as much about the ritual as it was about the taste. However, these coffee makers were fragile and required careful cleaning and maintenance. Over time, more practical options like drip coffee makers and electric percolators took over kitchens, leaving vacuum coffee makers as a relic of a bygone era. Still, their unique brewing method and sleek designs hold a special place in coffee history. Which of these vintage gadgets did you or your family use growing up? Share your memories with us. Mangle wringer washers. Imagine doing laundry without the convenience of a spin cycle. Before automatic washers took over, mangle or wringer washers were the go-to solution in the early 20th century. These machines marked a major advancement in laundry technology, combining a basic washing mechanism with two hand-cranked rollers designed to wring out excess water from clothes. It made laundry day a bit easier, but it also made it a major event. Using these wringer washers, you'd wash your clothes by hand in a tub, then feed them through the rollers to remove water. While it saved time compared to wringing clothes by hand, the rollers were powerful and unforgiving. Many people suffered from injuries. Fingers or even clothing could get caught, often resulting in painful accidents. Despite the risks, wringer washers were a practical choice for many households at the time. But with the rise of automatic washing machines in the mid-20th century, which could wash and spin clothes with little effort, the mangle washer quickly faded into obsolescence. Percolators. The bubbling sound of a percolator brewing coffee was once a familiar and comforting sound to many, especially in the mornings. These classic coffee makers had a straightforward design and were the go-to method for brewing coffee before drip coffee makers took over. The process was simple, yet effective. Boiling water would cycle through the coffee grounds multiple times, extracting a bold and robust flavor. While percolators were prized for the strength of the coffee they produced, brewing with them required careful attention. It was easy to overbrew and make the coffee too strong or bitter if not monitored closely. Additionally, cleaning the percolator could be a bit of a hassle, as the parts had to be thoroughly washed after each use. By the 1970s, percolators started to fall out of favor as drip coffee makers became more popular. Drip machines were simpler to use, required less attention, and made the brewing process more convenient. As a result, the percolator's days as the go-to coffee maker gradually came to an end, although its nostalgic charm still lingers for those who appreciate the classic coffee brewing experience. Coal-fired stoves. Imagine a time when the heart of every kitchen wasn't an electric range or a gas stove, but a heavy cast-iron coal-fired stove. These versatile appliances were the backbone of homes long before modern stoves took their place. Not only did they cook meals, but they also provided much-needed warmth, especially during chilly winters. Using a coal-fired stove was no simple task. It required skill to manage the heat, as maintaining the right temperature for cooking meant carefully adding coal and adjusting airflow. Timing was everything, and preparing a meal often demanded patience and attention. But these stoves were more than just practical. They were symbols of family life. Kitchens were the hub of the home, and the coal stove was its centerpiece, where people gathered for warmth, conversation, and shared meals. As gas and electric stoves became widely available and easier to use, coal-fired stoves gradually faded into history. Hand-cranked food processors. Before the convenience of electric blenders and food processors, hand-cranked models were the go-to tool for chopping, mixing, and pureeing ingredients. These simple yet reliable devices required a bit of elbow grease to operate, but offered great versatility for tasks in the kitchen. The design was straightforward, usually consisting of a crank that powered a set of blades or a rotating mechanism to process food. Despite the physical effort needed, these hand-cranked processors were known for their durability and effectiveness. Whether you were chopping vegetables or pureeing fruits, they got the job done without relying on electricity. As electric appliances became more affordable and widespread, the demand for hand-cranked food processors began to decline. Today, they've mostly been replaced by their electric counterparts, but they remain a nostalgic reminder of simpler kitchen tools that got the job done with just a little more effort. Ice boxes. Before refrigerators, keeping food fresh was a constant challenge. That's where the icebox came in, an ingenious yet simple solution that became a household staple from the late 19th century to the early 20th century. These early appliances looked similar to modern refrigerators, but were typically made of wood, with a compartment designed to hold large blocks of ice. To keep the food cold, families relied on ice delivery men who would bring massive blocks of ice right to their homes. The ice would be placed in the icebox, and the cold air would keep perishables fresh for a time. But it wasn't a perfect system. The ice would melt over the course of the day, and someone had to regularly replenish it. Despite the inconvenience, iceboxes played a crucial role in everyday life. But by the 1930s, the advent of electric refrigerators, much more efficient and reliable, started to replace them, marking the end of an era. Manual ice crushers. Before electric blenders took over kitchens, manual ice crushers were a must-have tool for anyone wanting to make refreshing drinks or cool desserts. These hand-cranked devices were simple but effective. You'd place a block of ice inside, turn the crank, and watch as the ice was broken down into smaller, more manageable pieces. Using a manual ice crusher wasn't just about getting the job done. It was a tactile experience. You could feel the resistance as the ice was ground down, and the process itself became part of the fun. Whether you were making snow cones, cocktails, or chilled treats, it was a hands-on task that added a bit of charm to the preparation. Please comment 1 to let me know you'll be watching this video until the end. Rotary phones with built-in dialers. Long before smartphones and touchscreens, rotary phones with built-in dialers were the pinnacle of communication technology. These phones had a circular dial with numbered holes, and to make a call, you had to spin the dial for each digit. It wasn't just about dialing, it was an intentional process. Each number required a bit of effort, giving the act of making a phone call a sense of purpose and focus. What set rotary phones apart was their sturdy, mechanical design. They were built to last, and the physical motion of dialing made each call feel deliberate. There was something satisfying about hearing the click of the dial as it spun back into place after each number. However, as technology advanced, push-button phones emerged, offering quicker, more efficient ways to make calls. Later, digital technology and smartphones replaced the rotary phone entirely, making it a thing of the past. Do you have a favorite piece of vintage tech or home appliance that you still use today? Tell us about it. Shoe buffers. Back when polished shoes were a hallmark of respectability, shoe buffers were a must-have for anyone who wanted to keep their leather footwear looking its best. These compact, motorized machines made shining shoes quick and effortless. Equipped with rotating brushes or cloth pads, they turned what could have been a tedious task into a simple, efficient process. Shoe buffers weren't just about practicality. They represented pride in one's appearance and an eye for detail. Owning one was a small but important step, in maintaining a polished professional image. However, as fashion trends shifted and casual footwear became more popular in the late 20th century, the demand for shiny leather shoes and the shoe buffers that maintained them steadily declined. Ironing stoves. Imagine pressing clothes without the ease of plugging in an iron. Before electric irons revolutionized laundry, people relied on ironing stoves, a humble yet essential tool for a polished look. These stoves were small, purpose-built heat sources used to warm heavy flat irons, which were then used to press clothes. Using an ironing stove wasn't just a task, it was a skill. Heating the iron required patience, and using it demanded precision and care to avoid scorching fabrics, or worse, burning yourself. It was a slow, deliberate process, and keeping the iron at the right temperature added another layer of challenge. By the early 20th century, electric irons began to dominate the market, offering consistent heat and much greater convenience. With that, the once indispensable ironing stove gradually became a relic, remembered as a cornerstone of old-fashioned domestic life. Meat safes. Before the days of refrigerators, meat safes were a crucial part of keeping food fresh, especially in warmer climates. These cabinets, typically made of wood or metal, were lined with fine mesh or perforated tin, allowing for airflow while protecting the contents from insects and pests. Placed in cool, shaded areas, meat safes relied on natural ventilation to slow down the spoiling process of meats and other perishable foods. While they weren't as effective as modern refrigeration, they were a clever solution that helped preserve food for a little longer, making them indispensable in many households. However, with the rise of electric refrigeration in the early 20th century, meat safes gradually became obsolete. Refrigerators provided a much more reliable and efficient way to store food, leading to the decline of these once essential kitchen tools. Butter churns. Before butter came pre-packaged at the store, families depended on butter churns to get the job done. These simple yet effective tools were a household staple throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries. For many, churning butter was more than just a task. It was a regular part of life. The process, though straightforward, wasn't quick. Turning cream into butter took time, muscle, and a lot of patience. It was a weekly chore in most homes, often done by whoever had the energy to keep the churn going until the butter was ready. But as industrial dairy production grew and store-bought butter became widely available, butter churns slowly disappeared from everyday life. While they're now mostly seen as antiques, butter churns were once an essential part of every kitchen. Waffle irons with detachable plates. Before non-stick electric waffle makers became the go-to in kitchens, waffle irons with detachable plates were a versatile and practical tool. These old-fashioned irons were designed to be used on stovetops or even over an open flame, making them perfect for those who loved a homemade waffle, no matter where they were. The detachable plates were often adorned with intricate patterns, creating beautiful waffles with a touch of craftsmanship. Some of these plates were even designed to double as grills, adding more functionality to the device. Whether you were making waffles or grilling a sandwich, these irons offered great versatility. However, as electric waffle makers gained popularity, these stovetop versions gradually faded into the background. With the rise of convenience and non-stick surfaces, the classic waffle iron with detachable plates became a nostalgic kitchen relic, remembered for its unique design and multi-purpose use. Radiant room heaters. Before central heating systems became widespread, radiant room heaters were the go-to solution for keeping warm during cold winters. These portable heaters worked by emitting heat from glowing metal coils or ceramic plates, radiating warmth into the room. Their compact size made them easy to move from room to room, providing heat where it was most needed. radiant heaters were simple to use, offering a quick and effective way to warm up a space. They also had a certain charm, often designed with vintage appeal that added character to a room. However, the exposed heating elements could be a safety risk, especially around children or pets. As central heating technology advanced in the mid-20th century, radiant room heaters became less popular. Central heating provided a more consistent and safer way to heat entire homes, rendering these standalone heaters less necessary. Today, many vintage radiant heaters are no longer used for warmth, but are instead repurposed as decorative pieces, evoking a nostalgic reminder of the past. Hair dryers with hoods. Before handheld hair dryers became the norm, hair dryers with hoods were the ultimate tool for at-home hairstyling. These devices featured a large, dome-shaped hood that covered the hair, connected to a base with a hose. To use one, you'd sit underneath the hood while warm air blew down onto your hair, drying it slowly but thoroughly. In the 1950s and 60s, hooded hair dryers were a staple in many households, and using one felt like a luxurious, salon-like experience. The process was somewhat time-consuming, but it offered a level of comfort and indulgence that handheld models couldn't match. You could relax while your hair dried, often while reading or watching TV. As handheld hair dryers became more affordable and convenient, the once popular hooded models began to fade into the background. Today, these vintage devices are often cherished by beauty enthusiasts and collectors. Their retro charm remains, and they're still sought after for their nostalgic appeal and the unique, more leisurely drying experience they offer. Electric shoe dryers. Got wet shoes? Back in the mid-20th century, electric shoe dryers were the perfect solution. These compact devices blew warm air into your shoes, drying them out quickly and efficiently. The design was simple. Just plug it in, insert the dryer into your shoes, and let the warm air work its magic. Electric shoe dryers became especially popular in places with harsh climates, where wet, cold weather could leave shoes soaked through. They offered a convenient way to dry out footwear without the need for extra time and effort. But as shoe materials improved and became more water-resistant, the need for these dryers faded. Vacuum tube radios. In the early 20th century, vacuum tube radios transformed the way people experienced entertainment and communication. These large, often beautifully crafted wooden radios brought the world into homes, delivering news, music, and various programs directly to living rooms. The magic of these radios lay in the vacuum tubes inside, which amplified sound, making it louder and clearer than ever before. The soft glow emitted by the tubes added a certain charm and almost mystical quality to the experience, turning the radio into more than just a functional device. It was a centerpiece of modern life. Owning a vacuum tube radio was a mark of progress and sophistication. It signaled that a household was up to date with the latest technology, and these radios were often seen as status symbols. Their size, intricate woodwork, and glowing tubes made them strikingly beautiful, adding an element of style to the room. However, by the 1950s and 60s, the development of transistor technology changed everything. Radios became smaller, cheaper, and more portable, making the bulky vacuum tube radios obsolete. Transistor radios could be carried anywhere, and they no longer required the same warmth or maintenance as their vacuum tube predecessors. Today, vacuum tube radios are treasured by collectors and enthusiasts. Their vintage appeal, historical significance, and unique design have made them highly sought after, offering a nostalgic glimpse into an era when radios were not only a source of information and entertainment, but also works of art. 39 household items everyone had 30 years ago that nobody has anymore. Giant CRT TV sets, stuck, filled candy jars, Furniture with cushions designed too elaborately. Tetris floors. The decade-old mixer. Victorian crockpot. Needleball. The poncho blanket. Fancy dresser. Salad bowl. Film container. Pandora's box. CD binder. Creepy figurine. Bookshelves. Desktop computers. Incandescent light bulbs. Alarm clocks. Fax machines. Landlines. Answering machines. Calculators. Phone books. Takeout menus. A map. Camcorder. iPod. DVD players. Photo albums. Checks. Sifter. Viewmaster. Coffee maker. Ice trays. Can opener. Wine bottle opener. Silly putty. VHS holders. Two keys for a single car. Did I miss any of your favorites? Drop a comment below and let me know. If you enjoyed this, check out more videos in the series, and don't forget to subscribe and share with a friend who loves a good tech throwback. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.